This is the Watchdog Report. Welcome once again. My name is Ed Ciffone, President of the United Taxpayers of Yorktown and Yorktown Watchdog. First let me tell you, yesterday we have a new Pope, Pope Francis. And I hope the Catholic religion gets to everything in order. And so congratulations to Pope Francis. And we have a special guest today, Nicole Katz. Now she's an advocate for the rights under the Constitution, and we're going to talk about the Second Amendment and this new law that New York State Governor Cuomo put into action. So Nicole, welcome.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for having me.
So let's see, it's called Safe, Secure
Ammunitions and Firearms Enforcement Act.
Okay. So listen, give us a little bio about yourself.
Okay.
Where do you live?
I live in Yorktown. We've been there for about 14 years now, and married, mother of 4 daughters. My stepdaughter is getting married this June. Personally, I'm a veterinary technician, and I'm the manager of our animal hospital that I own together with my husband. And
well, let's mention your husband right away. That's Steve Katz, Assemblyman in the 94th District. Okay, so let's get right into this now. Tell us why. Well, your husband wrote an article. This I can't believe anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, this is article with Steve Katz under the safe law. He's saying that no law enforcement person can come on school grounds because they're breaking the law. So this is your show. Tell me how this law came into effect, and tell me how these things happen.
Unfortunately, how it came into effect is, we're dealing with the reality of a governor who is preoccupied with his possible presidential campaign in 2016. And after the incident, the tragedy at Newtown happened, he wanted to make sure that he was the first in the country to have the strictest gun control laws in the nation.
So he rushed it.
He rushed it through.
Okay.
He eliminated the standard constitutional 72-hour review process where you have the ability for public hearings, public input, where the legislators themselves have time to do due diligence and study what's actually in the law before they have to take a vote on it. This bill was presented to the Senate on Monday night, I think it was the 14th of January. They were given the bill without ever having seen it before at around 11 o'clock at night, and 20 minutes later they took the vote.
Wow.
Okay.
Sounds something like Obamacare,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You have to pass the bill before you know what's in it to find out what's in it.
Yeah.
Quite right. And now that they've passed it, we're finding that there are tons of unbelievable ramifications in it that are affecting active law enforcement. We're dealing with a situation right here locally with Indian Point. The guards, Indian Point guards, normally carry a standard 30-round magazine. That's what they are supposed to have for their rifles to protect Indian Point nuclear plant. They are, as of tomorrow, they will be in violation of this law. They'll be committing I think it's a Class D felony.
Really?
Yes. Class D felony, which means that the penalty for an Indian Point guard to have their standard issue 30-round magazine would be more severe than if you attempted to rape a child. That's the insanity of part of the insanity of this law.
So what are we going to see at Indian Point? Them changing their guns or taking out? I think they're going to violate it.
I think they're going to violate it. I talked to a friend who's friends with one of the guards, and what they said that they have no choice now to do is walk around with backpacks filled with multiple loaded smaller magazines. So that's
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense. Okay, and then you talked about going to the schools. This is what it all started from.
Right.
Now they have resource officers that have weapons. They used to
Some
carry
schools do. Many schools don't.
Yeah, many schools don't. But they carry 15 rounds. If anything happens at a school, the police departments are going to come there with their weapons.
Right.
So you're saying after tomorrow, all that could be a crime?
Yes, it will be a crime. Within the SAFE Act, schools are will become, all of them will become gun-free zones. There was no exemptions for law enforcement put in the bill. Wow. So if there's a situation at a school and a police officer gets called, as soon as he steps foot on school grounds with his gun, with his standard issue magazine, he's in violation of the law. He just committed a crime.
Now, the only word for this is stupid, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, and all that stuff. So, I know your husband is trying to change that. Mm-hmm. Now, again, how do you change an act? This is not a law, but it's an act. So it's really a law.
It is. It's law. They passed it.
They passed it, right?
The governor signed it. It's law.
So the only way to change it is to go to the same people that passed it. And that ain't going to happen.
That's not going to happen. We do have on the Senate side and on the Assembly side, Steve put in a bill to repeal it on the Assembly side. You have a couple of senators, Kathy Marchione on the Senate side also has a bill to repeal it. But it's with the makeup of the Assembly. I mean, it might get through the Senate. The Senate, as of yesterday, I think they just made a statement that they're not going to fund it. They're not going to fund the law, which is, according to Governor Cuomo, he wants almost $37 million to fund this new law.
But what are they going to do with the money?
Yeah. Where's it going to come from? Meanwhile, he's slashing the budget. He's slashing the budget for people with disabilities. Right. He has a plan where normally the way it would be when if you had to be institutionalized for mental health issues, and when you were ready to be released, you'd go to a step down, you'd go to an adult home with supervision. Right. He's eliminating those. So now you go from being institutionalized to being out on the street.
Well, it happened years and years ago.
I was a police officer. Father.
Oh, was his father?
Mario Cuomo did something very similar.
Yeah, right, because they were just all let out. Mm-hmm. I was a police officer in North Tarrytown, and I'll never forget, there was this guy boxing on a corner right opposite the police station. I says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm Cassius Clay." And that was one of the releases from Rockland County Institution.
Right.
It was so many more. But I don't know why they want to do that, but I guess you have to look at the budgets everywhere. You just can't cut everything completely. You got to cut some, maybe get a handle on this stuff. Because I'll get off the subject in a second. We have group homes here. We have 24, adult group homes.
In Yorktown?
In Yorktown alone.
Okay.
Compared to any place else. So the first thing they do, that this Department of Disability, New York State thing, they fund, they pay for the buildings, they take it off their property taxes. Let's not get into that. It really stinks. Why do we have so many?
Yeah.
And they're going to build another one on Route 6 again.
Wow.
So we fund it through the taxpayers' money. That's another show. But listen, let's get back to the guns. Now, the federal government made some laws, okay? Now, I see you have 2 weapons there. You call them weapons, or you call them rifles? You call them...
Oh, you can call them firearms, weapons.
Firearms, okay.
One is a shotgun, one is a rifle.
Okay, now, clue us in on what's legal and how they're legal and what the law is trying to do, okay?
Currently, they're both legal right now.
Oh, okay.
The way that the new SAFE Act law is written, this is what all the controversy is over. This is an AR-15. This is currently perfectly legal. However, I think it's April 15th of next year. I will have to register it, which we never had to do before. And since it's purchased, I purchased it before the law went into effect.
Right.
I have certain things on it that are now you can no longer get in New York, such as number one, the barrel shroud. I'll explain to you how ridiculous these things are. The barrel shroud, all that does is when I'm at the range and I'm firing my gun, my hand is going to be here, right? Yeah. This part of the gun gets very hot after you're firing it for a few minutes. Right. So it's ventilated, so it keeps it cool so I can actually hold it. Without that, it's going to be too hot, it's going to burn my hand, I can't hold it, okay?
So
pistol grip.
They just ban that?
Yeah, they just banned that. Pistol grip, okay? Without the pistol grip, how on earth am I supposed to hold my rifle?
Yeah.
Okay. Another example, these are not loaded, by the way, so, is the flash suppressor. Okay. It's another example of lawmakers writing laws and enacting legislation on issues that they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. The flash suppressor just makes it so I don't get blinded by the flash while I'm at the range shooting my rifle.
They're taking that off?
Yeah. Yep. Collapsible stock. Okay. Why would you have a collapsible stock? I take my girls shooting too. They're getting very good. They love it. We go to the range and we do target shooting. With a collapsible stock, I can use the same rifle and then let my 12-year-old daughter use it as well. I just adjust the stock for the length of her arm.
Okay.
But legislators have decided that somehow makes it more deadly and more lethal. So that's an example of the absurdity of what's going on.
Crazy.
And additionally, another thing that I wanted to point out is this is a 12-gauge shotgun. This is perfectly legal. There's nothing in the law banning any part of this.
Now, can you have that in your car just shown right in the back on a rack?
No.
Or do you have to keep it concealed?
You have to. Yeah, you can't display it openly.
Because you see a lot down south. You see it always in the trucks and all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah,
But
they're not as ridiculous as we are here in New York. So what's an interesting thing between the two, the shotgun and the rifle, the fear over the rifles, in my opinion, is really unfounded, because you're not touching shotguns. The laws don't have any limitations on a shotgun. Meanwhile, this is the caliber for the AR-15. It's called the .223. Very small.
Right.
It does far less damage than a shotgun shell. Shotgun shell, the blast is going to make a hole like this.
Right, it spreads out.
It's a good home defense weapon because you don't have to be that good of a shot. If you fire that, it's going to basically hit, it's going to spray out the rounds, it's going to hit anything anywhere near you.
Right.
It's going to cause a lot of damage. It's much more deadly. No one's going to survive a blast from a shotgun. But very often you'll hear, especially a grown man, can take 5, 6, 7 of these before you can stop an intruder.
Yeah. So now the magazine.
Right.
The magazine also has to be less than 7?
Has 7 maximum rounds in it.
What does it normally carry?
Normally, there's 3 or 4 different standard size magazines. You have a 30, you have a 20, you have a 15, and a 10.
Okay.
They don't make a 7-round magazine. And all of the gun manufacturers, the magazine manufacturers in the country, have said that they have no intention of manufacturing a 7-round magazine because there's just no market.
Right.
I mean, New York is the only state that has enacted the 7-round limit.
So let me say a person wanted to do harm to anybody. So they can carry the backpack just like the people in Indian Point, and they can just snap them in as quick as it.
Right.
Or they can carry 4 guns or 5 guns on their person.
Right.
Okay, so
you can carry 4 or 5 pistols on your person and do just as much damage.
Damage, you know? Okay. So what are you trying to do, or what can people do? Because this is the Second Amendment. Now, they always say that when the Second Amendment was instituted, it was muskets and stuff like that. Now, do you think that has the same effect? But the main thing was that you protect yourself.
Right.
Okay, now, I was a police officer, and I know if you disarm all the public, we're in bad shape.
Right.
Just a small group of people could come, the police stations, take over towns, take over states, take over all that stuff.
Right. You saw that during the LA riots.
Right. Well, all that stuff.
It's just not possible for the police to be everywhere all the time. You saw that during Katrina.
and it's different in all states. So why did New York take this drastic measure on this?
Yeah.
They blow it, like you said, it could be for the presidential election. Well, they passed it through so quick. But now that it's set, they have to look at it, they have to read the law, that these things should be changed. So how do you have a group? Do you have anybody?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you do have a group?
Oh, absolutely. We have
Tell us about
a
that.
huge group across the state that we've pretty much unified. You could see the last rally that we had in Albany, February 28th. We had, according to the troopers there were over 12,000 people there that day. It was the largest rally in Albany history. It was 187 buses alone.
Wow.
So we've definitely unified as a group. We're working on a number of different things. The most immediate is the NRA has teamed up with New York State Rifle and Pistol, and they have a court case that is going to start going through the courts soon. So that's our biggest effort. It's a blatantly unconstitutional law, and hopefully the courts will see that. But as we've all experienced, you can't have every faith in the court system. So we do have to have some contingency plans on what we can do. One of the things that we can do, and we would be very effective in doing in this state, is in New York State, the Conservation Fund, the Environmental Conservation Fund, is their annual budget is $74 billion a year. Out of that $74 billion, over $55 billion comes from the licensing fees of sportsmen in the state. $55 billion at least. Sometimes, some years it's more, is coming from sportsman licensing fees. If New York sportsmen were to boycott the state and not get their licensing fees in the state and went maybe to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and did their hunting and fishing and trapping there, they would effectively eliminate the funding for the Conservation Fund.
Well, that's a good threat or action.
You have to be effective. You have to hit people in their pocketbooks. We can be very effective. We can do it legally. There's a lot of non-violent civil disobedience that we can certainly engage in. That if we keep the pressure on, people are realizing that this is an incredibly unpopular law. There are 52 counties already out of the state of New York, out of 62 counties, that have passed resolutions, their legislatures have passed resolutions opposing the SAFE Act, saying they will not comply with it, they're in opposition to it.
Now the SAFE Act, you said other states. Is this a federal thing, the state? Is this
the SAFE Act is state law.
New York state law, okay.
Right.
So the other ones really don't have those.
The other states?
The other states don't have that.
No, the other states are going to be facing
the federal
laws, and some other states are also talking about enacting their own state law, like Connecticut.
Right. Now that's what the states have the right to change the laws in their own state.
Right.
And that's about everything, immigration and all this other stuff.
They still don't have the right to violate the Constitution, though.
Right. That seems like people are trying to throw that away.
It does.
Everywhere you turn, look around. This is what the country was based on.
Right.
This is a good system that we have.
What makes me laugh about that, Ed, too? The people that, for the most part, that say, the Constitution, it was nice, but it's really outdated. It's served its purpose. We're no longer that type of country anymore. Let's try a new system, a larger government, more nanny state type of government. Meanwhile, the American model, based on the founders' vision for our country, is a much newer form of government. It's only less than 240 years old. And what a lot of the people who want to do away with the Constitution, what they want to go toward is systems of government that have been tried throughout history and failed every single time. So they like to proclaim that it's something new. It's not. Socialism, big government, all of it is some of the oldest types of government, and it's never worked.
Right. You can see it in history, right?
Correct.
So
you also see the history of what happens throughout history, when the citizenry is disarmed by their government. It never turns out good.
Yeah. That's pretty scary, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Then you got drones flying over.
Yeah. Yeah, and nobody questions this president.
Yeah. I mean,
no
people.
due process.
Nothing.
American citizens on American soil, no due process rights. The president can unilaterally decide, and he's also made it so members of his administration, without his approval, can unilaterally decide that it's time to take you out. No trial, no due process.
Wow.
Not good.
Yeah,
people need to start holding their government accountable and questioning these things.
Okay, so tell me the procedure. If someone wanted to have a pistol permit, where do they have to go, number one?
In which county?
Say, okay, Westchester County.
Right, because it varies county by county. Like in Dutchess County, it's very, very easy to get a pistol permit. and you can get it within a relatively short period of time.
But you can't live in Westchester and go to Putnam County and get a permit then?
No.
Oh, you have to get it
You have
where
to
you live.
you have to apply for your permit within the county that you reside.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the process.
In Westchester County, to get a pistol permit, you have to fill out an extremely lengthy application. It's pages and pages and pages. You need to get 4 character references. You have to explain your reasons why you want a permit.
Right. It's either full carry or
you can get
for a job related
target. You can get residential only, and then you can get the carry. The carry is the hardest to get. So then you have to be approved by your local law enforcement. Right. They'll do their background check. They'll search their own records. They'll make their determination if you're someone who should have a pistol or not. Then that information gets passed on to a judge. You've been fingerprinted, you've been background checked, you filled out your application, you have your 4 character references. Now it's up to the judge to arbitrarily make his decision. He's got the police chief's approval, but he can still decline you just because he doesn't like guns.
Let me just stop you for a second. They talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. Is that part of the screening?
It will be under the SAFE Act.
But they don't do it now?
No. You had the HIPAA privacy laws.
Oh, okay.
But that brings up other problems. You have the Department of Veterans Affairs just the other day said that they're not going to comply with the mental health provisions because any one of their members who gets treated for PTSD under this new law would never be able to be allowed to have a firearm again.
Wait a second now. How about the military?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about.
Does that come under if you're in the
if you're in the military, active or veteran?
Oh, okay, or a veteran. Yeah.
And you get treated for PTSD,
right,
which is extremely common.
Right.
And there's varying degrees of PTSD. You can have very mild,
right,
post-traumatic stress syndrome,
okay, right,
or you could have severe. So there's very varying degrees of it. It's not just a one-size-fits-all diagnosis. And the problem with the SAFE Act is once you're under treatment for PTSD, you will now be denied your Second Amendment rights.
Wow, no matter how slight or how.
That's right. And there are some cases where, yeah, you do want to, make sure if somebody is in a position where they could harm themselves or someone else, right, you do want to make sure that you limit their use. But
I just keep thinking if something happens, civil distress, riots, or something, right, like that. Now you come, the Army comes or the National Guard comes, they have restrictions, mm-hmm, on what they, now see, this is going to be a joke. Mm-hmm. Now it's going to be unsafe.
Right.
And I know under the Communist Act, they were trying to get all the guns away from people. That was part of their deal.
Right.
And I said what that, it was in 1919, that was the communist thing, right, to do. So it looks like it's happening, yes, more and more.
Yep.
Okay. But this is really, really ridiculous because, mm-hmm, it's going to disarm Americans.
And it's interesting what you just brought up, in that when the communists did that, they had the same analogy. They said, we need to do this for your own protection, for your own safety. We want to keep the citizens safe. And wow, we saw what happened, and you see it throughout history, what happens when honest, law-abiding citizens get disarmed. It's never, right, good.
Right.
An unarmed citizen is a subject. An armed man is a citizen.
Citizen. Wow. So we have a lot of trouble. So at least you gathered your forces. You're trying to look at the laws, trying to look at the Constitution. You're trying to bring them into court, mm-hmm, to change the laws. But what's happening, what really gets me is it still continues while you're fighting. Mm-hmm. These laws are in effect.
Right.
Okay? Like you said, Obamacare or the Affordable Act, it went to the Supreme Court. And nobody read it, right, 20-something, 100 pages. And then he said it's okay.
Right.
Now, we are senior citizens. Nick DiTomaso was also, mm-hmm, on the show. He's not going to be here at all. But they took $727 billion now
out of Medicare.
Medicare.
Right.
then they're taking this and they're taking that. I don't know what's going to happen to our country. I thought maybe with the new presidential election that we would have a new president.
So did I.
Okay, and
It was
so
a bit of a
people,
shock.
Yeah, and no matter what the records are of the people in office that are really 16 trillion in debt and all this stuff and all that stuff. So this is another big issue. So at least they're trying to get permits. So how long does it take to get a permit?
In Westchester County,
Yeah.
it'll take you a year.
A year again?
Yeah,
Okay.
a year.
But
If you get approved.
But like everything else, if you know a judge, if you know somebody.
I guess if you get the right judge, you know, in Westchester County, you certainly have a mix. You have
Right.
some very anti-Second Amendment judges.
Well, in Westchester County, probably 95% of them are Democratic
Yeah,
judges.
Yeah.
And those are the people you have to go in front of.
right, right. And then we have our own issues with our Board of Legislators. You know,
Oh yeah, so what are they doing
well,
now?
like I pointed out, 52 counties so far out of New York State's 62 counties have passed resolutions basically saying that they're not going to comply with the SAFE Act. They feel it's unconstitutional, and they're opposing it.
Now, I seen this guy Harcum. He said he has weapons, but he's for it, right?
Okay, what Westchester County did is
17 of them. So go ahead.
yes, there's 17 legislators. There's 10 Democrats on the board and 7 Republicans. They have not brought up a proposal. They have not brought up a resolution yet addressing the SAFE Act at all. I'm hoping they do. I've spoken to a couple of them, and I've sent them sample wording of other counties' resolutions. But what they did do is last month, on February 12th, without hardly, I mean, I didn't know about it, and I'm pretty on top of these things, and none of my friends who are Second Amendment advocates knew about this. The Board of Legislators passed a resolution enacting supporting stricter federal gun laws.
Oh boy.
And when you read this legislation, again, you realize these people have no idea what they're talking about. In it calls for a complete ban on all military-style automatic assault weapons.
Wow.
There's no such thing in the arms of a citizen. They have been illegal since 1938, I think it is.
Okay.
Automatic weapons.
All right. So listen, we went through everything. We have about a minute to go.
Okay.
You're looking at camera 3.
Okay.
And you're going to tell everybody how we can help you or your organization and for gun rights.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the best ways that we can get together to help support our Second Amendment rights is within our own county of Westchester. Everyone can call not only their own legislator on the Board of Legislators, but all of them, to tell them that we want them to put out a proposal to oppose the SAFE Act. Because that, even though it may be symbolic, when you have the overwhelming majority of the state, their legislators saying, we're not going to comply with this, it's unconstitutional, it sets a standard for the nation to realize how unpopular this law is, and it means a whole lot.
Okay, listen, thank you
Thank
so
you, Ed.
much, and we'll have you on again if any changes come up, and this is a good venue to understand.
Terrific.
All right, I want to thank Nicole Katz for coming on my show, and listen, folks, you heard what she said. We got a band together to be safe. Don't forget to watch our show on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, Mondays at 9:30 at night, and Wednesdays at 4:30. Thank you and good night.